There is a detail in your wall, small, ordinary, silent, that may be blocking your prosperity at this very moment without you ever noticing it. The first time I learned this, it felt like someone had peeled back a layer of reality and revealed a mechanism I had been living inside my whole life without understanding it. Because if a detail on your wall can interfere with the flow of abundance, what else in your home has been quietly shaping your destiny? This question alone is enough to shake your sense of certainty, and that is exactly where our journey begins. Before we dive deeper, I want to invite you to do something simple yet powerful. Write in the comments one sentence describing a place in your home that feels off, heavy, or stagnant. It might be a corner, a wall, a doorway, anything. Tell me where the energy feels stuck. Do this not for me, but for yourself. When you name something aloud, you activate your awareness. When you share it publicly, you anchor your intention to change. Energetically, that small declaration becomes the first opening through which abundance can re-enter your life. I remember standing in the home of a Kabbalist who once told me, the walls of a house are not passive. They breathe with the people who live inside them. At the time, I didn't understand. Walls seemed solid, silent, unchanging. But as he led me through his home, I noticed something strange. The air itself felt different in each room. Some spaces felt expansive, others grounding, but none felt stagnant. When I asked why, he pointed to the walls and said, "These surfaces hold energy. They reflect back what you place into them. They can open the gates of abundance or close them without you knowing." His words echoed in my mind for months. I began paying attention to the homes of friends, relatives, clients. In some houses, opportunity flowed as naturally as sunlight. In others, life felt strangely paused, as if prosperity hovered nearby but could not cross the threshold. And in almost every stagnant home, I eventually saw it. The same overlooked wall detail, present like a signature of spiritual blockage. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't supernatural. It wasn't the kind of thing you'd notice unless someone told you exactly what to look for. But once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. And every time, the energy of the room matched the message that detail carried. Hesitation, contraction, loss of momentum. Kabbalah warns that certain patterns, textures, and forms act as spiritual symbols. Some open channels of light, while others restrict it. And the forbidden wall detail belongs to the second category. The category of quiet constriction. It absorbs energy that should move. It interrupts flow that should rise. It blocks abundance you might already be working hard to receive. Now take a slow breath and let your awareness soften. Because as we move into the next part of this journey, the invisible role your walls play in your financial destiny is about to become unmistakably clear. In Kabbalah, walls are not merely boundaries separating one room from another. They are living membranes that absorb, store, and transmit spiritual energy. Every emotion you release, every conversation you carry, every intention you hold leaves an imprint on the surfaces around you. The walls become witnesses and transmitters of the energetic patterns that shape your life. This is why the flow of prosperity is not determined only by hard work or luck, but also by the spiritual condition of the environment that surrounds you. A Kabbalist once told me, a house is a vessel, and every vessel either expands or restricts the light that enters it. I didn't fully grasp what he meant until years later, when I began to see how different homes carried different atmospheres, almost like invisible climates. Some homes felt bright even in silence, while others felt as though the air was thick with unspoken weight. The difference wasn't the furniture or the decor, it was the energy woven into the walls themselves. According to Kabbalistic teaching, divine abundance, known as Shifa, flows into the world through channels of light. For this flow to reach you, it must pass through the structure of your life, including your home. Walls, in this sense, act like filters. When they hold clarity, order, and vibrational openness, the flow passes through freely. But when they hold disturbance, damage, or symbolic patterns of contraction, the flow becomes tangled. It slows, stutters, or redirects itself elsewhere. Think of your walls as emotional and spiritual mirrors. A smooth, harmonious surface reflects energy back into the room, amplifying it. A broken or distorted surface scatters energy, releasing it, weakening it, or sending it into directions where it cannot nourish you. Light, both physical and spiritual, behaves differently depending on what it touches. And prosperity follows the path of this light more faithfully than most people realize. You may have noticed this without understanding it. A room where you feel creative versus a room where your thoughts collapse. A corner where you avoid sitting without knowing why. A hallway that feels tighter than its physical measurements. All of these sensations are reflections of how your walls are interacting with the energy of the space. The Zohar teaches that the physical structure of a home corresponds to the spiritual structure of the soul. Cracks symbolize unresolved breaks in your inner world. Dark patches reflect unprocessed emotional weight. Sharp angles create energetic turbulence. And specific wall details, those we are moving toward, create a constriction so subtle that most people never think to question it. But prosperity knows. It senses whether the vessel is ready. It senses whether the environment resonates with expansion or contraction. And your walls tell that story long before your intentions do. Now that you understand that walls are energetic participants rather than silent observers, you are ready to see how architectural details and not just emotional imprints can drain financial energy. And that is exactly where we go next, into the mistakes we build without realizing the price they carry. The deeper you look into the structure of your home, the more you begin to notice that not every architectural choice supports abundance. Some details, though subtle, behave like quiet leaks, slowly draining vitality, clarity, and financial flow from the environment. According to Kabbalah, a house is not only a vessel, it is also a map of consciousness. And when the physical map contains distortions, the spiritual map reflects them. What appears harmless on a wall can, in truth, be a symbol of interruption. Take a moment to think of the walls you pass every day without truly seeing them. Are there dark corners where light never reaches? Are there surfaces that feel uneven, cracked, or strangely heavy? Do certain textures make the room feel harsh, chaotic, or restless? These are not aesthetic issues alone. They are energetic instructions that the room sends to your nervous system, and your nervous system sends to your decisions. One of the most common mistakes is broken or chipped wall surfaces. In Kabbalah, a break represents a rupture in the vessel, a place where energy escapes instead of accumulating. A cracked wall sends a symbolic message. Prosperity cannot stay here. It slips through. You may not consciously believe this, but your subconscious registers the fragmentation, and so does the spiritual field of the home. Another hidden mistake is heavy, oppressive textures, such as thick, irregular patterns or abrasive finishes. These textures generate spiritual turbulence, similar to placing obstacles in a flowing river. Energy becomes unsettled, swirling rather than moving forward. People who live in such spaces often experience financial inconsistency. Income that rises then sharply falls. Ideas that begin strong but cannot sustain momentum. Shadowed corners are another culprit. Areas where light cannot land become symbolic pockets of stagnation. In Kabbalistic language, light is synonymous with clarity, wisdom, and abundance. When parts of a wall remain untouched by light, they interrupt the natural expansion of energy. You may find that these corners correspond to areas in life where progress feels perpetually delayed. Then there is visual noise, walls cluttered with chaotic patterns, harsh shapes, or overly complex designs. These overstimulating details overwhelm the mind and create background stress, leading to financial decisions rooted in haste or fear instead of clarity. And finally, some walls contain intentional but disruptive architectural shapes. Overly sharp angles, abrupt protrusions, recessed voids that feel unsettling. These geometries mirror inner fragmentation and can symbolically cut the flow of abundance. Here is the part most people overlook. The home does not need to be broken for prosperity to stagnate. It only needs to hold a detail that symbolizes contraction rather than expansion. Something small, subtle, familiar. Something you've walked past 1,000 times without ever imagining it could shape your destiny. Now that you see how architectural mistakes can drain energy, we turn to the ancient texts that warned about these symbols long before modern homes adopted them. Because the Zohar describes structural forms that restrict divine flow with astonishing precision, and one of them matches the wall detail we are slowly approaching. When you enter the mystical world of the Zohar, you encounter a language that speaks in symbols rather than instructions, a language of light, form, and spiritual geometry. And among its many teachings, there are warnings about physical structures that subtly restrict divine flow. These warnings were never meant to be metaphorical. The sages understood that the material world echoes the spiritual one, and that certain shapes, fractures, or patterns in a home can mirror spiritual constriction with uncanny accuracy. One passage describes the concept of interrupted lines, surfaces that are not continuous, not whole. The Zohar explains that a vessel with an interrupted line cannot hold light. The blessing enters but leaks out immediately. The commentary interprets this as a physical and spiritual law. Any break in form weakens the vessel's ability to receive. Applied to a home, this means that wall details symbolizing fragmentation create real obstructions in the flow of abundance. Another mystical teaching warns about shadows that have no source, darkened structural pockets where light does not naturally fall. These areas, according to the sages, attract energies of stagnation. They represent parts of life where clarity struggles to enter, where progress slows or collapses. This correlates with the shadowed corners and recessed spaces found in many modern households, areas where prosperity feels trapped behind an invisible barrier. The Zohar also speaks of harsh, jagged forms, shapes that resemble spiritual tearing. These forms symbolize judgment, contraction, and limitation. Walls that contain sharp protrusions or aggressive textures mimic this energetic tearing, sending a subtle message of instability to the environment. People who live with such details often experience sudden disruptions, financial unpredictability, broken plans, opportunities that collapse without explanation. Most striking of all is a teaching about gaps, described as openings where light cannot settle. A gap is a break in continuity, a place where the vessel fails to contain what it receives. In mystical symbolism, gaps on walls represent spiritual wounds, places where abundance flows in but cannot accumulate. The home becomes like a leaking container. Whatever prosperity enters dissipates quickly. And here is where the ancient wisdom aligns perfectly with modern experience. The wall detail that most commonly blocks prosperity is not dramatic or sinister. It is subtle, familiar, almost invisible. And it reflects precisely the qualities the Zohar warns us about: interruption, fragmentation, shadow, and gaps. For centuries, the sages taught that the structure around you shapes the structure within you. What you see daily becomes what you unconsciously embody. And when your walls carry symbols of restriction, your inner world absorbs them. Your choices shrink, your confidence tightens, your financial intuition dulls. Now that you understand the spiritual weight these architectural symbols carry, the next step becomes unavoidable, revealing how your subconscious reacts to these wall details long before you become aware of them. Because the mind sees the threat even when the eyes ignore it. And that psychological contraction is one of the main reasons prosperity cannot enter. Long before you consciously notice a detail on your wall, your subconscious has already interpreted it, categorized it, and reacted to it. The human mind is ancient, shaped by millennia of survival instincts, trained to sense instability in the environment before it becomes a threat. And when your walls contain details that symbolize rupture, darkness, or distortion, your subconscious responds exactly as it was designed to, by contracting, guarding, and preparing for limitation. This psychological contraction quickly becomes financial contraction. Your brain is always scanning your environment for cues, signals that tell it whether to expand into opportunity or retreat into caution. Cracks, shadows, holes, and sharp interruptions in walls are universally recognized by the subconscious as signs of danger, signs of structural weakness, signs of unpredictability, signs of instability. Even though you are not consciously thinking, "I am unsafe," your nervous system behaves as if you are. And a nervous system in defensive mode cannot create, risk, invest, or grow. This is not metaphor, it is biology. When your subconscious perceives instability, it activates the sympathetic nervous system. Your body enters subtle alert, your breathing changes, your inner dialogue shifts. Suddenly, your financial decisions become conservative instead of expansive. You fear losing more than you hope to gain. You avoid new opportunities. You cling to safety rather than stepping toward abundance. A room with broken or shadowed wall details sends a constant, silent message to your subconscious. This environment is not secure. And without realizing it, you begin to mirror that message emotionally and financially. People living in such environments often report difficulty making confident financial decisions, cycles of starting projects but failing to complete them, money entering and leaving quickly with no accumulation, chronic hesitation around investments or opportunities, a persistent sense that something is off, even when life appears normal. All of this stems from environmental signals the conscious mind ignores, but the subconscious obeys faithfully. There is also the psychological impact of visual interruption. The mind craves continuity. Smooth surfaces, harmonious shapes, and clean lines create emotional calm, clarity, and focus. Interrupted surfaces, rough textures, and dark recesses introduce tension into the visual field. This creates microstress, small but continuous surges of internal tightening. Over time, this tightening becomes your default emotional state. And prosperity requires openness, not tension. This is why people feel instantly relieved after repairing a wall, repainting a surface, or removing a visually aggressive feature. It's not merely aesthetic. It is psychological liberation, the release of sensory clutter that had been weighing down their intuition and financial courage. And now, with both the mystical and psychological frameworks in place, you are prepared for the moment of revelation. Because the specific wall detail that blocks prosperity blends these two forces, spiritual contraction and psychological tension, into one subtle, destructive form. And that detail is far more common than you think. The wall detail that blocks prosperity is not dramatic. It is not supernatural. It is not the kind of thing you would look at twice. And yet, it carries the exact energetic signature that the Zohar warns about: interruption, fragmentation, shadow, and loss of continuity. The detail is this: any form of peeling, cracked, or chipped wall area, especially when the underlying layer is exposed. Even a small patch, even a corner behind furniture, even a thin line of plaster breaking through the paint. This is the hidden leak of abundance. Peeling paint, crumbling plaster, exposed drywall, these are physical manifestations of spiritual gaps. They symbolize a vessel that cannot hold what enters it. A wall in this condition reflects the Kabbalistic concept of broken vessels, places where divine light descends but cannot remain. Prosperity arrives but dissipates. Opportunities emerge but fade. Blessing knocks but does not settle. Most people walk past these details without noticing them, or they notice and dismiss them. It's just cosmetic. I'll fix it one day. It's only a small spot. But the subconscious interprets it differently. There is weakness here. There is instability here. Something is deteriorating. And the spiritual field of the home interprets it with the same clarity. In Kabbalistic symbolism, peeling or cracked walls represent ruptures in your energetic container, places where Shefa cannot collect or accumulate. A single crack in a strategic area can drain the vibrational momentum of an entire room. I once visited a man who struggled financially despite being talented and disciplined. His office was clean, organized, and yet the energy felt strangely thin, almost as if the room were exhaling endlessly. As I walked around, my eyes caught a small patch of peeling paint near the floor, no larger than a coin. It looked insignificant, but the moment he saw me notice it, he sighed and said, "That spot has been there for years. I don't even see it anymore." He didn't see it, but his energy did, his decisions did, his abundance did. After repairing the spot and repainting the wall with intention, he told me something shifted immediately. It felt like the room became solid again. Within 2 weeks, he secured a contract he had been chasing for half a year. It was as if the leak finally sealed, he said. This is why the detail matters. Peeling or damaged walls symbolize loss of containment. They instruct the environment to release rather than retain blessing. And here is the most important part. The size of the damage does not matter. A tiny crack carries the same symbolic message as a large one. The energetic blueprint is the same: fragmentation. Now that the forbidden detail has been revealed, a new question rises naturally. How do you correct it in a way that not only repairs the wall, but restores the spiritual flow of abundance into your home? That is where our path turns next, into the Kabbalistic cure. Now that the forbidden wall detail has been exposed, the question becomes, how do you correct it in a way that not only repairs the physical surface, but also restores the spiritual architecture of abundance in your home? Because in Kabbalah, fixing something in the material world without shifting its energetic imprint leaves the correction incomplete. The vessel must be restored both outside and inside. The first step is physical repair, and it must be done with intention. When you patch a crack, repaint a peeling section, or smooth a damaged texture, you are not simply improving aesthetics. You are sealing an energetic leak. You are telling your home, "I am ready to contain blessing again." Even a tiny patch repaired consciously can change the vibration of an entire room. Use smooth, continuous surfaces whenever possible. Kabbalah associates continuity with divine flow. A wall without interruption becomes a vessel without gaps, a place where Shefa can settle and accumulate. This is why fresh paint is so powerful. It resets the energetic signature of the entire surface. The second step is to introduce light, both physically and symbolically. Add a soft lamp near the repaired area. Hang a reflective object that brightens the space, or simply allow more natural light to reach that wall. Light represents clarity, wisdom, and abundance. When it touches the restored area, it transforms the energetic memory from broken to renewed. The third step is color harmonization. After the repair, choose tones that open spiritual flow rather than constrict it. In Kabbalah, colors such as warm whites, golds, gentle blues, and balanced greens are associated with expansion, harmony, and divine generosity. These shades signal to the subconscious that the space is stable, alive, and receptive. Even a small accent can shift the entire emotional field. The fourth step is symbolic anchoring. Place something meaningful on or near the repaired wall. An uplifting artwork, a plant, a Hebrew letter such as Aleph or Shin, or anything that represents growth and protection. This is not superstition, it is energetic reprogramming. Symbolic objects instruct the space to hold a new frequency. They anchor the correction so the old pattern does not return. The fifth step is intention, the one element without which no correction is complete. Kabbalah teaches that consciousness shapes outcome. So while repairing the wall, speak inwardly or aloud, "Let this space become whole again. Let abundance flow without interruption. Let my home become a vessel for blessing." This act transforms simple maintenance into spiritual alignment. Finally, perform a brief energetic exercise. After the repair is complete, stand before the restored wall and take 7 slow breaths. With each breath, visualize light filling the space that was once broken. 7 breaths for the 7 lower sephirot, the channels through which abundance descends. Now your environment does more than hold light, it reflects it. But before this correction can take root inside you, you need to see how it has already transformed the lives of others. Stories of real people who healed a single wall detail and watched their financial life shift almost immediately. Those stories form the bridge to where we go next. Let me take you now into the real lives of people who discovered, often by accident, that a single damaged wall detail had been silently shaping their financial reality. Their stories are not dramatic. They are human, familiar, and that is precisely why they reveal the truth so clearly. Prosperity doesn't always return with thunder. Sometimes it slips back in the moment the environment stops leaking its light. There was a woman named Leah, a meticulous and devoted mother who worked tirelessly yet felt perpetually stuck. She described her financial life as always almost enough but never overflow. When I visited her home, everything was orderly and warm, except for a small peeling section behind her dining table. She laughed when I pointed it out. "You saw that? I haven't noticed it in years." She repaired it within the week, smoothing the wall, repainting with soft gold tones, and placing a small plant beside it. She told me the room felt stronger, almost as if the air had substance again. Within 1 month, 30 days by the calendar, she received a surprise raise at work and an unexpected repayment from a family member who had owed her money for years. "It felt like my home stopped exhaling my blessings," she said, half smiling, half astonished. Then there was Daniel, an entrepreneur living in a stylish apartment filled with modern decor. Yet his finances were chaotic. Large sums came in, but they disappeared just as quickly. When I walked through his space, I noticed a narrow crack running along the hallway wall, barely visible unless the light hit it at the right angle. He told me he had put off repairing it because it wasn't worth the trouble. Still, he agreed to try. After a simple repair and a fresh coat of paint, he placed a gentle lamp near the area, adding warmth to a space that had always felt cold. Within 3 weeks, 21 days, he landed a long-term contract that finally stabilized his income. "It was like sealing a hole in a sinking boat," he said. But the story that stayed with me most was Rivka's. She was an elderly widow living modestly, always grateful yet always financially limited. Her living room had a large fading patch where the paint had peeled away after a leak years earlier. She had covered it with a picture frame, convincing herself the issue had disappeared simply because she could no longer see it. When I gently encouraged her to repair it, she hesitated, then agreed. The moment the wall was restored, the entire room transformed. Light moved differently. The space felt uplifted, renewed. Within 2 months, 60 days, her small handmade crafts business unexpectedly doubled in demand. "It was as if the room healed and my life healed with it," she whispered. These stories are not coincidences. They are patterns that appear whenever a vessel is restored to wholeness. And now that you've seen how repairing a single wall detail can reshape the trajectory of someone's financial life, we can finally rise above the individual examples and look at the grand design behind them, the Kabbalistic blueprint of prosperity itself. As the stories settle into your awareness, a deeper truth begins to emerge, one that reaches far beyond cracks, peeling paint, or shadowed corners. In Kabbalah, prosperity is not an accident, nor a reward, nor a stroke of random luck. Prosperity is the natural expression of alignment, and your home, every wall and every detail of it, becomes a living map of your inner alignment. When something in that map is broken, the flow of abundance becomes disrupted. When the map is repaired, the flow returns to its path. Kabbalah teaches that abundance begins as light, descending from the higher realms through channels known as the Sephirot. But this light cannot exist without structure. It requires a vessel, a container capable of holding it. This vessel can be a thought, a belief, a relationship, or the very walls of your home. When the vessel is whole, the light is contained. When the vessel is broken, the light spills. This is why the sages spoke endlessly about tikkun, which means correction or repair. Every act of repair in the physical world mirrors a correction in the spiritual world. When you mend something broken, you are symbolically saying, I am ready to hold blessing instead of losing it. The walls become a reflection of your readiness. Even the simplest wall repair becomes a spiritual act. Smoothing a crack becomes smoothing an inner fracture. Restoring continuity becomes restoring flow. Choosing light becomes choosing expansion. In this way, the home and the soul rise together. Another principle central to prosperity is Shefa, the continuous stream of divine abundance that seeks to enter your life. Shefa is generous, constant, and impartial. It does not favor one person over another, but it does seek alignment. It settles only where the vessel is ready, where the environment reflects expansion rather than contraction. This is why color, texture, and structural integrity matter. They are more than visual experiences. They are vibrational statements. A dark, broken, or fragmented wall says, blessing cannot remain here. A restored, light-filled wall says, blessing can enter, stay, and multiply. There is also the principle of energetic memory. A corrected space does not simply look different. It remembers the correction. It holds the vibration of renewal. It becomes a container that welcomes opportunity the same way healthy soil welcomes seeds. And this leads us to the 7-day challenge often recommended by Kabbalists. For 7 days, symbolizing the 7 lower Sephirot, perform one small act each day that brings continuity, clarity, or light to your home. Repair something. Clean a neglected corner. Add a warm shade of color. Open a window to shift the air. Each small step widens the vessel through which abundance flows. And as these principles settle into your understanding, there is only one final step left. The blessing that seals the journey. The activation that invites prosperity to take root. This final moment is not an ending, but an opening, a doorway into a new relationship between your home, your energy, and your financial destiny. You've walked with me from the first whisper of an unseen blockage to the full revelation of how your walls, those quiet witnesses of your life, shape the flow of abundance that enters your home. Now, as we reach the final step, I want to gather everything into a single living truth. Prosperity is not something you chase. It is something you prepare for. When the vessel is ready, abundance arrives. When the space is aligned, opportunity recognizes you. When your home becomes whole, your life begins to rise. So let this message settle into you like a slow, steady breath. Never ignore what your walls are telling you. A peeling patch is not decay, it is communication. A crack is not cosmetic, it is symbolic. A shadow is not accidental, it is a spiritual pocket where light cannot enter. When you restore these details, you are doing more than repairing surfaces. You are performing a quiet tikkun, a correction that echoes through the energetic blueprint of your life. If there is one sentence I want you to carry forward, let it be this: where there is continuity, blessing can stay. Continuity is not perfection, it is openness. It is the willingness to prepare space for what you desire. It is the gentle declaration that you are ready to receive instead of ready to lose. Every repaired detail is an affirmation of worthiness. Every restored wall is a statement of readiness. And now, with the vessel of your home renewed in your awareness, I want to offer you the ancient blessing that has carried families through centuries, opening pathways of protection, clarity, and abundance. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and grant you peace. May your walls hold light. May your rooms hold clarity. May your home become a sanctuary where Shefa, the divine flow of abundance, enters freely and remains. And before you leave this moment, I ask you to take one final symbolic action. Share this message with 3 people who may be living with an invisible blockage without knowing it. 3 people who deserve to restore flow, to repair what was broken, and to reclaim the abundance waiting at their doorstep. When you share wisdom, you expand it. And what you expand expands you. As you move forward, remember this simple truth. Prosperity begins long before it arrives. It begins in the atmosphere you cultivate, in the details you correct, in the light you choose to welcome. Your home is not separate from your destiny. It is the first reflection of it. Where light can enter, abundance follows.